future trends assignment here. So first off, my trend, cell phones and their impact on schools or students. I think this trend, um, I guess more so like the trend is actually like more so restricting the cell phones than actually just kind of the topic. Cell phones are always going to be an issue, and I think more schools are kind of leaning towards one solution of putting them away than having them out for students. So, introductions here, I just kind of have some pros and cons listed out. Cell phones, obviously, it's like a mini computer in your pocket, can make life pretty easy. Students, have them at all times, kind of growing up in this digital native era where they can get pretty good with those cell phones. Cons, obviously, lots of distractions. Students, constantly checking for their phones, wanting to be on social media. And then, kind of more like on the serious side of things, like a lot of risk behaviors with students. I've noticed more trouble from things on the internet between students or different things with different people in different grades. And this is resulting in students kind of, getting in trouble at school, and it's for something outside of school or with their cell phone. So I think, those are kind of the pros and cons. More than just the policy, cell phone policies in schools, what I'm noticing here is through different classes at CSS and VLC discussions and asking and knowing different teachers, everybody has something different on the cell phones, and not everybody's on the same page. Some schools have a blanket policy that they think is airtight, but often different teachers around the building will be doing different things, which pretty much is going to break your cell phone policy, and kids are going to be able to adapt and kind of work their way through that. Professional development. There's nothing really, there's really no way for teachers to know what to do in certain situations unless we review some of these things in development or staff meetings or whatever it may be. And it's just about consistency. Everybody being on the same page, everybody being consistent with the consequences, things along those lines. So I don't necessarily think there needs to be like a development day on cell phones, but let's see what this school is doing, or let's get together with a bunch of schools. Let's all do the same thing so we're all on the same page. Obviously, stakeholders, teachers, parents, students. It's a pretty complex issue, but I see it shifting to people, wanting to limit phones. Because of these students getting in trouble and things happening within the building, I think the higher ups in the school board, administrators are kind of like, well, we need to get these out of here, get our students focused back up so we don't have some of these big distractions. Some parents might be against that, some might be for it, and of course, probably students not going to be for that. Just like, we got landline phones that in every classroom that students can use, or their parents can call the office if they actually really do need something. So just some kind of information here. 77% of public schools prohibited cell phones for non-academic use by 2020. I think that's pretty obvious. Then with the shutdown and COVID, I think maybe there has been some relaxation on some things. And now that we're getting a few years post-COVID, maybe ramping things back up. Our electronic device policy, it needs to be visible in the academic setting, which means like a classroom, hotel, basket, or face down on a desk. What I'm noticing, teachers don't follow it. Students take advantage of different rules. Some of them have it in the classroom and use it all the time. And then when you go from class to class, you see students doing different things. So I think, it kind of leads into teacher community and teacher PD, getting everybody on the same page. How are we going to get everybody doing the same thing? Well, we need to respect one another and have that close proximity to each other where we can trust each other and know that everyone's doing the right thing, and kind of put our personal beliefs aside, and, more time together as a staff and more development, like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're not just going to visit at the beginning of the year. We're going to remind folks and, maybe talk about it a little bit every couple months. So one campaign I'm noticing, Away for the Day campaign, is an organization initiative aims students to leave their phones in lockers or another area of the school for the whole day. Maybe it's a collection box somewhere. But when students get to school, they are not allowed to have their phone. They state on their website 82% of people or parents don't want students to have their phones. So what I'm kind of noticing here with this trend, what they lay out in their website is the biggest thing is there's no wiggle room. Students are not having their cell phones. They do not have them. They cannot have them. If they have them, it's an automatic, it's gone. Okay, it's getting taken. So this is very cut and dry, and it's just leaving phones out of the school day. I know some schools around Minnesota, it broke Fox 9 that they, can't have cell phones in the Twin Cities area. So I see more schools shifting to this, and I could see my school going to this. Just some more research kind of backing it up. Tracking young people and their cell phones. A lot of them are getting these notifications constantly, and they constantly want to check them, even if it's on silent. I know the students just kind of have that itch. Their hands are at their sides, looking under their table, looking at their Apple Watch, not really listening to you, just kind of waiting for that next notification. We have seen research, out there that shows that, students who are distracted aren't going to learn as much, and, cell phones are a big part of that. So kind of the problem here, teachers all need to be on the same page, basically. We need more buy-in from teachers. Short-term fixes are not going to work. We need a policy that's no stress and kind of takes almost the teacher give and take out of it. Teachers have enough on their plate. We need teachers to be teaching, not worrying about cell phones and behaviors of students and what they're doing on these cell phones. Maybe that's too much to ask. I don't know. But I think the problem is that we just need a policy that everyone is behind, and we can't resist that change. We got to be willing to get on board with something, even if it's against our ideas. So like I've been kind of saying, this really correlates to PD, and I think the problem why teachers aren't consistent on things is, it could be staff community, or it could just be they don't really necessarily know what works. We don't have resources to know what we should be doing for our policy with our students. So a quote here, school leadership can create a learning environment at schools by helping teachers to identify their development needs, by encouraging experimentation, by finding and allocating resources to support teachers' learning, and by enhancing the implementation of new learning. This was from Postholm and Boylan, who wrote a article about teacher PD and how that this leadership can really just transform your learning environment, getting teachers on the same page and investing in your teachers and seeing what they need. So this kind of will lead into my next assignment a little bit, the wicked problem. Cell phones are being banned from schools across the country, and I think that's going to continue. Teachers are not on the same page. No training or targeted strategies for certain things like cell phones. There's just an inconsistency on what many teachers are doing in their classrooms. And I'll leave this here for a second for those resources that were used.